Hi, everybody, and welcome to Cartoon Arts Center Book Club with Alicia Dianne Art. I am Alicia Dianne, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, guys, so we are reading Selling for Dummies. This we are up to chapter. We just read chapter 13 this week, so we are making steady progress. I want to say we're about 3/4 through the book, because that's the book and that's where we are. So this one was all about getting referrals. This one was, I feel like, really helpful for me because this is something that I always wanted to know how to do. Basically because almost all the business I've gotten is from people I know and from just talking to people in like my everyday regular settings. It's always been like someone I know, someone that I've just randomly talked to about my art, and oftentimes they know somebody, and I've gotten a few people that have told me about other people who are interested, or who have told me about, oh, I have someone else who might want something like this. So I feel like this is really helpful for me because it feels like the majority of my business so far has gotten through like word of mouth. And so I feel like this was like a helpful tool in like helping me to expand that, and hopefully it'll be a helpful tool in getting you to expand that as well. So I'm going to go through some of the highlights that we read through in this chapter. So it's titled Getting Referrals from Your Satisfied Clients. Keyword is satisfied. So I think it's kind of obvious that if your clients aren't satisfied, they're not going to refer you. So your number one goal always should be to make your current client happy. Always focus on who's in front of you. Be present, be mindful, and appreciate the business that you have today before you move on to what's going to be happening next. So the whole idea is that he mentioned was that you're going to be getting these referrals based off of the positive feelings that someone else has gotten from you. So it's coming from a place of trust, and it's coming from a positive experience. So just keeping that in mind. And it says qualified referrals show 60% closing rate, which is pretty amazing compared, and I'm going to highlight this second part that I didn't before. And it says compared to only 10% closing rate with non-referrals. So you're gonna get, it's, what's that, like 5-6 times? I don't know why my math sucks. I'm not even gonna try to pretend it doesn't. But yeah, it's like that's like 6 times more likely that you are to close on that sale. That means you're gonna have a successful sale. 6 times more likely than you will with like just someone that is not referred to you, who doesn't know you from someone else. So that's really kind of incredible. Another point that he puts out is not to take these for granted. So you don't want to be lazy with your presentations. Like once you get a referral, give just as much energy, just as much enthusiasm, just as much excitement to sell and getting that person on board with you as you would if they didn't know you from anywhere and nobody recommended them to you, and like you're selling someone who's already like a skeptic against what you're doing, because you want to be able to not take it for granted and really like give them your best regardless, and it's going to make it even more likely for you to sell. And the next part, he pointed out several places. I think it's 5 places where you can get referrals from. And the first place is family and friends. And he said not to take those for granted, or not to discount those. This is something I learned when I was doing my Kickstarter. One of the things that we learned in the lesson that I was doing was like with the Comics Launch program. If you're not familiar with Comics Launch, like, and you are interested in kickstarting a comic or graphic novel series, I would definitely look into that, because it helped me a lot to do my first Kickstarter and to have a successful Kickstarter for my first graphic novel. And my second one is coming out next year in a few months, so I'm excited about that. So I'll be on Kickstarter again, more than likely. I think I will do Kickstarter again. But one of the things that I learned was when you're building up your network by creating a mailing list, you want to start with the people that you know. So ask them, if they'll join your mailing list. Ask them if there's people that they know who will want to join your mailing list. Give them reasons why. And never look at it as a burden, because it says, one of the things it says is, if you look at your business as a burden, then like you need to rethink your business, because if you believe in what you're doing, then you'll know that it's valuable. And so like be confident in it. Don't like shy away from it. Like have the confidence and know that you're offering something that's positive, and perhaps they can know someone who can really benefit from whatever it is that you're doing. The next one is through networking. And so don't look at it as just networking as far as business wise, because it says like people that you're basically meeting every day. So whether it's like with your friends, like in your workplace, in your like religious place of gathering, if you're any place where you're kind of around associate type people, or people that are like you're friendly with, that you may not know like that well, but you know you're friendly, you see them on a regular basis. Those people, don't take those for granted. Like be willing to share what you do with them, and be willing to ask them about people who might also be interested in what you're doing, and just to say, you know, pass the word on. The third place, which I was surprised, but I'm glad that this was already in the number three, was from your happy customers. So from people that you work with, who have experienced you as who have been your client, they're satisfied, and these are people that you want to ask. And he does later on in the chapter give the steps for how to ask them. But one of the things that he does make a point of is that you do really need to ask for the referrals, and don't just think that people are just going to hand them to you. I mean, sometimes that will happen, and when people are really happy with what you're doing, they will probably, you know, mention one person. But the thing is, when you actually ask and you actually put it out there, you're going to get more. You're going to make them think about it, you're going to get their mind going, and you might get even more referrals than you thought you would have. So it's important to always go to your happy customers and make sure they're happy, and see if you can get like some referrals to them. One of the things that it also gives you as like a warning is to not over promise with your clients or with your referred clients, because you want to make sure that you are able to meet their needs. So don't try and over promise. Don't try to like fluff up whatever it is that you're offering. Just give them to like it's real, and then like tell them about it, like what it is that you do, and then over deliver on that. And that way you're kind of ensuring that they will be satisfied in the end. Number four is other salespeople in your field. So it could be your fellow artists. It could be another artist that does something alongside of you. Let's say you're an illustrator and you might know somebody who does storyboard. Perhaps maybe you guys could swap potential clients who might be interested in the other person's specific skill set. So for me, I'm not a storyboard artist, but if I knew someone who was looking for a board artist, I might know somebody to refer them to. And when they know someone who's looking for an illustrator or a visual development artist, they'd be able to refer them over to me. All right. So the number five is through public speaking engagements and teaching opportunities. I think this is excellent. If you've never taught a class, I think it's a great idea to learn the art of teaching, because it does not come automatically with making art. You don't automatically know how to teach it. I think it's a great skill to have in your pocket, even if you don't want to be a teacher full time. Well, most artists probably don't, in all honesty, because we want to make art most of the time. But it's good to have the skill of teaching, because you can use that to speak, you can use that to give talks, you can use that to help other people, you can use that to like, even if it's like one-off things, like maybe it could be something that's once a season or once a year or something, you know, that you gradually work on. Just learning that skill. You can volunteer to be a teacher's assistant in a lot of art locations. That will help you to build up that skill and give you maybe opportunities to try and teach a class for a short time. And I really think that having that ability to speak, I mean, you can do like a public speaking class too, but I feel like teaching is like the best class on public speaking you'll ever have, because you have to prepare constantly. You have an audience every single week, every single class. You have the audience in front of you, and you have to perform. Like there's no option, there's no like, I don't want to do it today. It's like you have to show up and you have to do it. And so I really think that teaching in itself is like the best public speaking class. And with that skill, you'll be able to go on and like give talks and create like lessons basically that can be like a one-off lesson where you're just kind of basically giving like a panel presentation. So if you see what panelists do and they talk about their work, they're giving they're giving you a presentation, they're giving you a lesson basically, but it's formatted so that they're just presenting it. But that's all skills that you learn through teaching, and you can use that to promote your work, and you can use that to talk about your work. You can use your work as examples, and that you can use your services as examples, and those people who are listening to you can then become your referred clients because they heard about you through your talk. You know, you might not have met them one-on-one, but they heard you speaking and they want whatever it is that you're offering. So I think that that's an excellent way to promote yourself. And always remember that you are promoting your business. That's one of the things he talks about. Don't try to be like, you know, you're not a stand-up comic. Don't try to be a stand-up comic. Be yourself. Have something to offer them. Like, have like nuggets to give them, and throw in whatever your business opportunity, whatever it is you're selling, whatever it is you're promoting, include that in there. And it says knowing when, how and when to get referrals. You want to do that when your project is done. So it talks about like at the point of sale in his business, but I think that is like different when you're selling like an object. So basically that's like if you're selling a house in a point of sale, like they sign a contract and it's theirs. They sign a contract for a car and it's theirs. When it comes to art, is when you're done, when you finish the project, when you finish the book, when they have it in their hand and they can see it. That's the point when they're most happy. So the point when your customer is most happy, and for us who are artists, it's going to be when you're completed the project, and that is a time where you say, oh hey, and there's like a step process, but that's the point where you're going to ask for the reference. And it says there's 6 steps, easy steps, quote unquote, for getting the referrals, and those are: help your client think of specific people he knows, write down the referral's name, ask qualifying questions about the referrals, ask for the referral's contact, ask the client to call and set up a meeting, and then ask the client if you can set up the meeting, but mention their name. And so it gives you reasons why you should go through each of those steps. I'm not going to go through all that, but I do think it's the way that he went through them is really good and helpful. And it breaks it down so it feels like it all makes sense. So basically you're going to start off with like trigger words, like in trigger things like, okay, so who are you going to share this with first, and what are you going to do with it first, and that's going to lead into more questions. That's going to help you to get those referrals. So I think that this is a great like steps, and I think the way he breaks it down is really good. The book is by Tom Hopkins too, if I haven't mentioned that in this episode. I know I mentioned it in the previous episodes, but I just want to like point that back. Setting up the meetings. So what did he say about that? So you want to go back and look through any of your notes that you might have written down about that person when you were talking to your previous client. You want to include that in your presentation so that you know that whatever they mention to you, you don't want to like reiterate it back to your new client, but you want to like use those points to kind of help you to put in keywords into your presentation, so hopefully that they'll be interested and more likely to want whatever it is that you're offering. All right, so finally we are at the end of this chapter, and it says aiming to get referrals even when the going gets tough. So let's see. It says basically the success of your referrals, of getting a successful referral, is going to depend on you actually following up. So if they give you a client, if your client gives you the name of someone, make sure you call them, and make sure you call them relatively soon after, so that way if they go back to that person, they'll actually remember referring. You don't want to wait like 6 months and be like, oh yeah, like Jenny referred me, and then they call Jenny and like, who? And like Jenny forgot about you a long time ago. So just remember, like, follow up soon, and make sure that you don't like, you're not sloppy about it. Make sure that you just, keep all of your information organized so that you know when you got the referral, you know all the information, you know what they're interested in, you took notes, you have a clear system for your notes. So just make sure that you're organized, that you're on top of your game, and you know what you're doing. So I think all of that makes sense. The next chapter and part 5, so we're going into a new section. Part 5 is growing your business, and the next chapter 14 is following up and keeping in touch. So basically, it's all about what he closed this chapter 13 on. It's just like making sure that you follow up. And so now in 14, he's really going to go through steps on how we do that. So I'm going to go through this chapter next week. Thank you so much for joining me. I think that we are learning a lot. I'm learning a lot, so I hope that you are learning a lot too. So thank you so much again, and I will see you in the next episode. Until then, be grateful, live balanced, be yourself, and keep learning, guys. Bye-bye.